Okay, crew, welcome to episode 30 motherfucking 8. 2Ks. I'm fucking pumped.
Yeah.
I am stoked. I had my Gus Johnson fill. How can you not get stoked watching anything that Gus Johnson commentates? Mm-hmm. That dude, grass grow. He could commentate it to be like, all right, is it going another inch today or no? Is it? But for those that don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, he was the one that had the Wisconsin-Ohio State game. And later, motherfucking Michigan, Notre Dame at the Big House, 7:30. Let's fucking go. Let's go. So let's jump into kind of this week's agenda, 2Ks. It's the World Series. Mm-hmm. It is the World Series. And like we touched on last week, this is how the postseason should run. Not a travel day or a day in between every game, and then on the travel day there's 2 fucking days, and then there's a day because LeBron sprains his twat or something like that. This is the way you fucking do it. Back-to-back games, and right now it's back-to-back-to-back because they're in Washington hosting a World Series game since I think 1963 or some shit. So I know that stadium was fucking pumped last night. They didn't get the result that they were looking for, but I'm pretty sure the atmosphere was just jacked. Mm-hmm. It was just jacked. So yeah, let's kind of dissect game 1 and 2, give our little tidbits. And who would have thought that Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, if you're the Nats, if you come out of Houston 1-1, you're stoked.
Yeah, I think that's a win.
Yeah, because those two don't lose back-to-back that often.
I'd be curious to know how many times they lost back-to-back throughout the season, if it happened at all.
I want to say I saw a stat that said 2, twice all year.
Yeah,
twice all year. So for it to happen on the biggest stage when they needed it the most. And I mean, in all honesty, Cole didn't get shelled.
No.
He still gave you 7 innings. Granted, he gave up, 5 or 7 runs somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. But with that Houston offense, you would kind of expect them to show up a little more. I mean, Bregman's been next to nothing.
Yeah.
Seems like Altuve is the only one that's fucking hitting in that whole crew. And
Springer's kind of been the occasional big hit. He hasn't really, average-wise, he hasn't really showed up all postseason. No. But when there needs to be a big hit, he seems like he's been the guy that's got that for him.
And speaking of big hits, I mean, yeah, they're just not there right now, especially game 1 and 2. I mean, Bregman gets off the schneid in game 2, hit a 3-run home run.
Yeah.
That put the Astros ahead, but in game 2, in my opinion, Verlander didn't pitch a bad game. It's just that right when he was leaving, the wheels fucking fell off the whole thing, and the bullpen couldn't get me or you out. And then some untimely errors, which is not very Astro-like at all. It was just a very unfortunate game because after the first inning, JV spun a gem. Spun a fucking gem. I mean, he was as advertised. He gave up 1 run in the first inning or something like that? Or
two right off the bat. Yeah. And then, pretty much was spot on, through 6. And I kind of thought, after the 6th inning, I thought that he was done. And they ended up bringing him back out to start the 7th, and that was when kind of the wheels fell off. And, I mean, normally you look at Verlander, and he's a guy that can give you, 125, 130 pitches. But it just kind of, there's a difference when you go 130 pitches and you coast through that.
Yeah.
He wasn't coasting through that game.
They were stressful pitches.
Yes, there was a lot of stressful pitches to where when I thought he was walking off the field after the 6th inning, I thought that it was time to go to the bullpen. I get it, hindsight 2020.
And he's your fucking horse.
Obviously, Hinch knows a lot more than 2Ks does about his pitching staff and about Justin Verlander, but I was kind of surprised when I saw him back out there warming up in the 7th, and then the wheels fell off at that point.
Yes, and not to take second fiddle because Strasburg was pitch for pitch right there with him.
Yep,
right there with him. Same thing in game 1. Scherzer spun a gem, and that's big. That's been one of his big things is he gets too hype.
Yeah,
you didn't see that,
and you think a game one in a World Series matchup that maybe this is going to be another, Scherzer tries to go out there throwing gas in triple digits in the first inning. No, he controlled his, controlled the emotions, and that's kind of been the knock that we've been talking about throughout this postseason is you put Scherzer into a big situation and he struggles to be able to, control his emotions and, not, we don't need you out there lighting up the, the radar gun in the first inning.
Yeah. Make the ball move.
Yes.
Make the ball move like you have all year and everything will be fine.
Yep.
Now, kind of the underlying issue, maybe it's an issue, maybe it's not. We did see that, what was it, the assistant GM or one of the higher ups got fired for comments that he made towards a female reporter. And she was there basically demonstrating anti-domestic violence, which we all know that the closer Osuna, he he was suspended 80 games for it. And the whole situation just kind of, and we're not going to beat this to death. We just want to touch on it, kind of give you our thoughts, but I think we can all agree that domestic violence is bad and we shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, when someone pays the price, they deserve a second chance. We're not in his household. We don't know what's going on. So let's just, as far as that goes, let's leave it at that. But if you're the Astros, and because they traded to get him from the Blue Jays, correct? They got him at such a dirt fucking cheap price because no one wanted him, including the Blue Jays. They're like, fucking take him. Give us a water boy. Give us a bat boy or two.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they ended up swapping closers, right? Because didn't Giles go over to Toronto? And at Toronto, they just, it was either they were going to trade him and try to get something out of it, or they were just going to cut ties with him because, it's unfortunate because we're at the World Series, and instead of talking about baseball and talking about the Game 3 matchup, it seemed like the entire, day after Game 2, we're talking about all during their travel day, we're talking about this story. And, yes, the Astros, when they made this trade and they brought him over,
they had to know this was coming.
Yes.
They had to know. And and I'm not talking down to the reporter by any means, because she knew exactly what she was doing. Did she know she was going to open up this big ass can of worms? Probably not. Did the executive from the Astros handle it the way he should have? Absolutely not. Had he handled it differently, this wouldn't have been a fucking story.
Yeah. But and I guess I'm pretty disappointed in the way that the Astros as an organization handled it afterwards. Yes, I get it. They fired him, but that was kind of what they had to do that.
Yeah.
If this didn't blow up or anything like that, then they probably would have never did anything about it.
No.
And they tried to basically just bash at her and say that she was the cause of this. No. You needed to apologize. You needed to squash this right off the bat, and instead they're the ones that ended up dragging this out and made it into this big story that it is. When in all reality, if they would have just squashed it and been done with it and apologized, because she deserved an apology.
Yeah.
And she did not deserve to be dragged through the mud, pretty much, and that's what they did to her. And to me, that's the unfortunate part. Unfortunate part about it is we're in the World Series and we're talking about this instead of talking about the Game 3 matchup with Greinke and Sanchez on the mound.
And you would think that because when they traded for him, sorry, 2K crew, I'm congested as fuck, so I do apologize for coughing in your ear. I do. But when they traded for him, he was on suspension. So you would think that in the back of your fucking mind, you would have a lifesaver scenario. Like, if this happens, do X, do this. Have a plan in place, because it's going to it's not going to go unlooked or overlooked. Sorry. And you can kind of draw comparisons back to when the Cubs traded for Chapman. He was, I don't believe he got as long of a suspension, but he did for the same thing. And there was a lot of folks in Chicago that when they made that trade, obviously they were projecting that, oh, well, how would you feel if someone with that reputation is on the mound that wins you the World Series? Now, I think winning makes everything a whole lot better, Because after that, the Cubs win the World Series, no one even fucking talks about it. And when people are talking about this story, they kind of forget that we've already been down this road. But I think, like I said, it's the timing of when they traded for him, knowing exactly what they're getting into. In my opinion, as an organization that is so detail fucking oriented, they would have had a plan A and a plan B to get out of not get out of the situation, but to handle the situation.
Yep.
Where they went plan fuck and just sprayed a whole can of fuck over everything.
Yep.
So, do you think now, in my eyes as a player, Ozuna's been with you a year and a half? Granted, you might not agree with what he did, but he's still one of your teammates. Does that affect you on the field?
At this point, no. I mean, back when it first happened, and when the trade first went through, not very many of his teammates were for it.
Right.
AJ Hinch, the manager, he wasn't even completely for it. And you're talking about one of the better closers in the game. It's not every day that you get an opportunity to get him for basically nothing. They traded away Ken Giles, who was struggling bad.
Yeah.
And so they end up getting one of the best closers in the game mixed in with you're already one of the best teams in the game. So, but it says a lot because the players were not all for it. But now we're looking this, and this is what kind of, for lack of a better term, it's kind of annoying that it's still coming up today because this happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so and I can't stand it, and it bothers me so much when shit like this pops up on the biggest stage. Why didn't this come up back at Game 74 of the season? Why does it have to come up right in the middle of the World Series when everybody's watching?
Because they planned it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
They planned it that way, and like I said, it as organized as the whole Astros organization is. I'm shocked at how they handled it. But that's, like I said, we just wanted to touch on it. We're not going to beat it to death. So let's focus on what's going on the field. And now, 2Ks, when I sent you this agenda for the week, I sent it to you yesterday. So obviously, because I like to give you as much time to prepare, and myself to kind of, we didn't know how this this World Series talk was going to go. Because if Greinke shits the bed, which he has, Nats are up 3-0. I think the series is over.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe the Astros squeak out one, but for Greinke to spin a gem like he did last night, and for the bats to actually come alive, and like we touched on previous, Altuve, the dude is just a fucking baller in the postseason, and so it's a whole different conversation being down 2-1 as opposed to 3-0, obviously. And tonight, the Astros are going bullpen, and they're throwing a dude from what little I looked him up. He's a rookie. Looks like his last name is Uruguay, and I thought that was a country and not a bullpen pitcher for the Astros. But the Nats are countering with Corbin, which Corbin out of the bullpen in this postseason has been awesome.
Yeah.
He's been awesome. Now, stretching him out a little more, how will that affect things?
To me, when you get to this point in the season, you're kind of going with the hot hand. It's not. I think what Washington obviously wants to do is get as many innings as they can get out of Corbin. But if you start to fall behind, they're going to go. I mean, you're going to go with the next arm up because you were able to beat Cole and you were able to beat Verlander, but if you lose tonight, those guys are coming back, and it's going to be really hard to beat them again.
Then, if they win tonight, you're looking at the best 2 out of 3 series. So, and with Game 6 and 7 being back in Houston.
Yep.
Now, if you're a Astros fan, which I'm kind of conflicted on how I'm rooting for this. I'm rooting for the Astros because they were my pick before the season. But I'm rooting for the Nationals just for the fucking story. I love it. No, I mean they're probably the biggest odds in World Series history just to be here. Then to go up 2-0 after you and I both kind of dogged on them last week for all this rest. Fuck, they didn't need any rest.
Yeah.
They came out like gangbusters, and Sanchez didn't pitch a bad game last night. It's definitely not, being you and I being Tigers fans, we've seen some of his clunkers. Mm-hmm. That was not one of them. That was not one of them. Now, one of the trades that I think kind of got thrown by the wayside from the Astros because he's not playing because he's hurt is Aaron Sanchez. What a perfect fucking spot for an Aaron Sanchez start.
Yep.
And my biggest concern with the Astros right now with a quote-unquote bullpen game, even though Cole went 7 innings, Verlander almost went 7, the Verlander game, shit. They were running almost everybody they had out there just because they couldn't catch the ball. They couldn't they couldn't miss bats. Mm-hmm. So that bullpen's is a little bit more taxed than the Washington pen. Mm-hmm. And the Washington pen I don't know if they flipped a switch because that was their Achilles heel during the season, and now they're missing bats. Yeah. They're not giving up anything. Mm-hmm. So that's my concern going into tonight. And I won't tell you who I picked because I'll just tease it a little bit. That might be in one of our pick'ems. Might be one of our pick'ems.
So for me tonight is. And I mean everything. It seems like with this postseason in baseball, everything that I've said on this show has been wrong. So
likewise,
I'm probably not right on this, but in my opinion, I guess whoever wins tonight's game, I think is going to be the team that goes on to win it all. If the Nationals win tonight, they're going to go ahead 3-1, and I just don't think that Houston can get out of that hole. No. Nationals have been the hottest team in baseball. I don't think they can get out of that, but. On the other side of it, if Houston wins tonight and it ties back up 2-2, you got Garrett Cole coming back. He's not going to lose again.
No.
And you got Verlander after that, and I just don't see him losing again. And so that's why I have to give it to the Astros if they win tonight. But I guess if I have to pick one, I think the Nationals win tonight and go ahead 3-1. And I would say maybe the series goes to 6, may possibly 7, but. I think the Nationals win tonight, go ahead 3-1, and eventually win the World Series.
There's one thing that's a guarantee is Anthony Rendon's going to get fucking paid. Yeah. That dude is probably one of the most underrated badasses I've ever seen. There's a lot of other, the Scherzers, the Strasburgs. There's a lot of big names that go on in that team, and then you got Rendon, who should be in the MVP race.
Absolutely.
And a guy that just keeps coming up with fucking knocks is Ryan Zimmerman. Mm-hmm. Love that dude. He's the only original draft pick they've had left. So, Zim, keep doing it, bro. I've always been in your corner. You've always been one of my favorite players, so keep it up, bro. Then you got Kurt Suzuki coming out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. I didn't know he still was in the fucking league, to be honest with you. Hitting bombs.
I like the 2 table setters that they have there. I mean, you talk about Rendon and what he can do, and if it wasn't for what Cody Bellinger does and what Yelich does and what Alonso is doing, he's right there in that MVP talk. But I go back to the table setters and Trey Turner and somebody that just him getting on base. Is eventually going to turn into a double. And
stealing a base, so we all get a free taco.
And then after that, you have Adam Eaton, who he just gives you good at-bat after good at-bat every single time he steps in the plate. He's a very good defender in the outfield. He's got a very good arm. Just two. They have... I look up and down their roster, and it's just... do they have, like, those eye-popping names? No. They don't have the eye-popping names that Houston has, that's for sure. But, man... They have an entire lineup of just really, really good baseball players.
Yeah, they do, and that's one of the big knocks that they've had against them, especially when Bryce was there. Bryce adds that name value, but they never went anywhere. Mm-hmm. They never went anywhere. Granted, they added Corbin in the offseason. Mm-hmm. Adam Eaton wasn't healthy last year, so it's a lot of the same dudes, and like you and I have talked about before, maybe it was addition by subtraction. Maybe he garners too much attention and didn't vibe in the locker room. Mm-hmm. I mean, hell, he's trying to fight people in the locker room, so just kind of move on from him. So I think it's going to be a great game tonight. I do agree. It is of course, every game in the World Series is pivotal. But in the further on, the 4, 5, 6, 7, those get a little bit more hype than game 1 and 2. So, but yeah, I totally agree. And I think we're going to see another great game. I really do. I think, this one, I mean, this could go any different way. Corbin could be strong for a couple innings and then kind of tail off because he hasn't been stretched out in a little bit. And who knows with a bullpen game? It's with a bullpen game. A manager earns his fucking money there because the plan is maybe use 6 or 7 pitchers, but when you got a dude that just dealing,
you got to ride it.
Do you run him back out there? To
me. With the Nationals being ahead, 2-1, I think they have to just keep riding it. Now the Astros, you said a rookie pitcher. I've never even heard of the guy.
Uruguay. That's not really his name, but that's what it looks like.
I don't know if you can see with Corbin. I guess it doesn't really scare me because he's obviously pitched on big stages before. He's proven to be a very good pitcher. So I trust him. I trust him a little bit more to keep on trying to ride it to where the other guy, never pitching in a game like this. Who knows? I mean, it could go either way. Sometimes when you have a rookie that's never pitched on it before, he doesn't really know how to act out there, and he just goes and pitches right through it. But then on the other side of things, when you have a rookie and you put him on a big stage, sometimes that stage is too big for him.
They shit the bed.
Yep,
they shit the bed. Well, let's kind of shift gears, if you will. There really is no smooth transition. But let's talk about the game that kicked off at noon today. The previously mentioned Ohio State, Wisconsin, and my boy Gus Johnson, another beauty. I love it. I'm always sad when it comes to March Madness. The only thing that's sad about me is Gus Johnson can't do the games anymore because he's on Fox now, which is why he's doing the college football games. But that dude in a close fucking basketball game, there's nothing better. I think he's more excited than a fan than the players. But halftime it was 10-0 Ohio State, and kicked off second half. Ohio State gets the ball, goes 3 and out, actually loses yardage. They have a partially blocked punt, and Wisconsin answers 10-7. I'm like, all right, cool. This is a fucking game. Ended up being 38-7. And I'm pretty sure that the Buckeyes were kind of tired of Turbo and 2Ks pumping up our boy JT.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what, bro? We have a running back, too. Yeah. We got a running back, and he's pretty fucking good.
And he is.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, it's JT Dobbins. I think I saw he went for like $150 and two touchdowns and caught it like 4 or 5 balls out of the backfield. The kid just balled out. So you have, and it wasn't Justin Fields' greatest day. It was rainy. It was kind of nasty. But yeah, Dobbins is like, bro, I got this. And the Ohio State offensive line just demolished the defensive line for Wisconsin. And on the flip side, the Ohio State defense, Chase Young is a fucking savage. Savage. I want to say that not him, but the team had like 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and it was just crazy.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. So it started out kind of slow, but then Ohio State does what Ohio State does, and they're like, you know what? Watch this.
Yeah.
Pushes a button, and it's a fucking video game at that point. And the one positive, as I remember when you and I were talking about this last week, we were talking about the Wisconsin quarterback making throws. The touchdown pass that he threw, I don't think you could have dropped it in a bucket. I mean, he put it right between 2 defenders, over the top of one, in front of another. Wow. Wow. So it's not like he can't make the throws. But yeah, they pretty much bottled up our boy, and that could be kind of his exit from the Heisman talk, which is kind of sad.
Well, yeah. I got to be honest. I didn't even watch one play of this game, and I was super hyped last week when we were talking about this. I actually picked Wisconsin to win this game, and then we leave after recording, and Wisconsin gets beat by Illinois, and after that, I'm just like,
"This is stupid.
What the fuck just happened?" Like, I don't need any help sounding more like a jackass on this goddamn show. And I talk Wisconsin all up, and I say that they're going to go into Columbus and they're going to beat Ohio State. And then a couple hours later, they lose to Illinois.
Yeah.
And so obviously I'm like, yeah, after the Illinois game, and kudos to Illinois. I mean, huge win for Lovey. Huge win for Illinois as a whole.
Huge shout out to Lovey's beard.
Yes.
That beard game is strong.
Flawless beard.
Oh,
flawless.
God. Every dude that's rocking a beard should be jealous of that motherfucker.
Yes.
That should be in the Beard Hall of Fame, if there is one. If not, let's start one and put Lovey in there.
Yeah, absolutely. But so after the Wisconsin losing to Illinois last week, though, going into this week, I was just like, well, one, I wish I could take that pick back because that's not happening. And seeing them get beat 38-7 tonight, it doesn't shock me at all. But at the same time, I'm asking, what the hell happened to Wisconsin? I mean, first 6 weeks, 7 weeks of the season, and they were just, with ease, with exception of the Northwestern game.
Right.
But they beat the hell out of Michigan. They beat the hell out of Michigan State, and I get it. Those two teams are not at the level of Ohio State or anything like that. But
it's the way they beat them.
Yes,
it's the way they beat them.
They just mowed all over both of them. And then to lose to Illinois, it was just like, what happened? And I get it. You're going to come across, you're going to have a bad game or something like that. But yeah, Ohio State's great. How is Ohio State? I don't think Ohio State's 31 points better than Wisconsin. That's where it gets me is what's going on in Wisconsin.
No, I could tell you what's not going on in Wisconsin. What's not going on is them being the number one team on their side of the Big Ten.
No.
Row that fucking boat.
The boat.
The Minnesota Gophers are leading the West. What is it, the West now? For the Big Ten. I know it's not the leaders and legends anymore.
Yeah, I don't even.
I'm pretty sure it's the West. And they're not only leading, they have a 2-game fucking lead. Because those Gophers are unfucking defeated.
Yeah.
PJ Fleck is for real. For real.
He proved that. And I get it. We're talking about Western Michigan, and they're not exactly a powerhouse, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And when he came to Kalamazoo, that you talk about a program that was in shambles. They didn't have a plan, and they weren't even winning football. They weren't even winning one game. And they brought him in there, and he turned that. They were playing in the BCS bowl game. What was it? 3-4 years later? 4 years later, I believe.
4 years later.
And they're playing against Wisconsin, and they got beat by Wisconsin in that game, but it wasn't like they got manhandled.
No,
they played right there with them.
No, and, yeah, you're very right.
So put them on the map, and then everybody knew it after that season that the bigger schools were going to come calling. Mm-hmm. Was he ready for for an Ohio State job or for a Michigan job or something like that at the time? No, but Minnesota was a perfect stepping stone to getting to those schools. And I tell you what, me being a Michigan fan, and I talked to you about this last weekend. I'm not giving up quite yet on Harbaugh. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the shit, and it's time to get it going. But me being a Michigan fan, after next season, that contract's up with Harbaugh, and if they can't get it turned around, you got to think that Fleck's going to be on their radar.
Oh, he should be on most every team's fucking radar. Are you kidding me? So yeah, big shout out to you, PJ, and your Gophers. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. Now, I'm gonna throw a curveball in here because the next thing on our agenda, I want to wait a little bit because while we were doing our pre-show stuff, there was a huge fucking upset. Mm-hmm. Huge upset. Oklahoma, what were they? Number 5, number 4, number 5.
5.
Goes into Kansas State, and I'm not gonna say shits the bed because they were right in that, and it was basically came down to an onside kick that hit hit an Oklahoma player before the 10 yards, so it was an illegal touch. Oklahoma didn't have any timeouts. There was like $1:40 left in the game. Just a few kneel downs for K-State. Bada boom, bada bing. 48-41. You gotta love Big 12 football. Lots of defense played there.
Oh yeah, it's like watching a basketball game. Yeah,
exactly.
With the score.
Exactly. So just wanted to touch on that real quick. I think that throws a big wrench into the college football rankings. We haven't had the college football ranking show yet, but I think once we do, then it's going to shake up the entire probably top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a feeling that the committee's not going to give the nod for, and we're saying if everything stays copacetic from here until that show, I think you're going to see either Ohio State or LSU take the number 1 spot, and the one that isn't number 1 is going to be number 2, and then the 3 and 4 are going to fall however they might.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Alabama takes a 3, Clemson takes a 4. But yeah, there's a lot of folks that are going to be yammering, oh my God, and I've heard it. We've even talked about it, that Ohio State should be number 1.
Mm-hmm. I got to think that if Penn State takes care of business today to Michigan State, that Penn State's going to jump up to the top 5.
Yep,
they're 6 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So with Oklahoma going down today, I think Penn State, as long as they should beat Michigan State today.
Yeah, they should just slide right
in the top 5.
Slide right up there, and then that opens, with Oklahoma losing, you open that whole conversation of who's the best one-loss team, and should a one-loss team be in over an undefeated and all this other bullshit. So my advice is to strap the fuck in, because this season's about to get crazy.
And in my opinion, you look at, and I know you're not one to really boast big time, with Notre Dame. If Notre Dame goes into Ann Arbor tonight and beats Michigan on their home field, what's Notre Dame right now, 8?
Yes.
So they win tonight in Ann Arbor. To me, they should be right there. Probably not jumping Penn State if Penn State beats them to get into the top 5, but they should be right there at the 6th spot, right on the outside looking in.
The only thing right now is that if Notre Dame wins out, and they have they're a one-loss team,
mm-hmm.
and if Florida wins out, they're a one-loss team. I think I'd have to give the nod to Florida over my Irish for strength schedule.
Well, what hurts Notre Dame is Georgia losing to South Carolina. That killed Notre Dame.
Yes, and that was kind of what I was alluding to. And not to say that Georgia's a bad team. They had a clunker just like
Oklahoma today.
Oklahoma, Wisconsin last week. So it happens. Mm-hmm. But yes, you're very right. It kind of depletes Notre Dame's strength of schedule having Georgia lose. And with Florida lost to LSU last weekend, right? Or is it 2 weekends ago?
Yeah, I think it was 2 weekends ago.
2 weekends ago. And LSU is probably the hottest fucking team in football or college football right now. So that to me is a better loss than a Notre Dame loss to Georgia.
Yeah.
But we shall see. Yep. We shall see.
Yeah. As far as going with the 1 and I think Bama needs to move down. I think they should be 3. They just haven't played against anybody yet.
Nope.
And they knocked Clemson in there when Clemson had their when they almost got beat. Probably should have got beat by North Carolina. And they knocked they bumped them down. Well, it's time to bump Bama down for not playing against anybody to this point. And the two teams that, in my opinion, are the 2 best teams, Ohio State, LSU.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can go either way with who's 1 and 2. I don't think whatever you say, I can't say that you're wrong. Like you can go with either one. The only reason I would go LSU 1 is just because of the strength of schedule.
Mm-hmm. They played a little bit tougher schedule than Ohio State.
Yep.
But speaking of Notre Dame-Michigan, let's touch on that a little bit. It is the big game at 7:30 at the Big House. And for those of you that have tickets, kudos to you, but I would not pay to go sit in the fucking rain with 110,000 crazy people who are also wet. No. I would much rather watch it in the comfort of my home.
Yes.
Call me a fair weather fan, but you know what? I don't give a fuck. I do not give a fuck.
Michigan prides themselves on being the biggest stadium in the country and and holding more people than anybody. But sometimes 113,000 people is just too many fucking people in one spot.
Especially in a small spot like that.
You try to go take a piss, and you might as well bank on standing down there for 15, 20 minutes before you can even get in there.
So what you're saying is you should strap on some Depends?
Yeah.
Because your ass is tailgating.
Well, yeah, if you throw on a good tailgate and get yourself going a little bit first thing in the morning. I spend 3/4 of the game going back and forth to the damn bathroom.
Yep. But my official prediction right here, right now. Oh, you know what? Let's wait on predictions. Let's chat a little bit about the weather. Yeah. We kind of touched on it. I don't want to jump around too much, but it's going to be rainy. It's going to be windy. Right now, it's rainy and windy here in Marcellus, Michigan. So I'm assuming the weather is going to be very similar to what we're experiencing right now. And on College Football Live's podcast, they brought up the fact that if it is a rainy, nasty, windy game, who do you give the nod to? And they were both talking about, and they brought up very valid points. The first being they compared the quarterbacks. And they kind of gave the nod to Ian Book because he doesn't turn the ball over. He's thrown 2 interceptions all year. And just the Notre Dame's overall passing game is a little bit ahead of what Michigan's is. And they also brought up, which I didn't even think about it, hanging onto the ball. Hanging onto the ball when it's wet and nasty. Ball security is key. Ball security is key. And this season has not been the best season for Michigan State's ball control.
No.
But I kind of went a different route with it. If it's going to be a ground and pound game, I'm going to take my Irish's offensive line and stable of running backs over Michigan's because after, what's his name, Chardonnay, I couldn't name another Michigan running back. And, especially there's a couple, Tony Jones, he's had back-to-back over 100-yard performances. So if you're looking at it that way, I got to give the nod to the Irish. Yeah. I really do. Yeah. Both teams' defenses are probably playing the best that they've played all year. So I think the defense kind of washes the other out. So when you're looking at that, you have to go to the offense. And unless you are a diehard Michigan fan that really can't see past the maize and blue, I couldn't see a reason why you would take Michigan's offense over Notre Dame's. The only thing that Michigan has is a better receiving core. But Shea hasn't gotten the ball to him that often. And so that's where I'm giving my nod to. And you know me, I love my Irish. I'm wearing an Irish shirt right now. I picked them to lose against Georgia. I got a lot of flack for that. But you know what? Georgia was a better team, especially that day.
And Georgia was the home team that night too.
Well, and even when Georgia was at Notre Dame, it was a fucking Georgia home game.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, to me, you hit the nail on the head when you talk about when you see this game just. When I think of what the weather's going to be like tonight, the first thing that pops in my head is 2 years ago, Michigan State beats Michigan, and it's just pouring down rain the entire game. And what's Michigan doing that game? I think they turned the ball over 6 times. They were the better football team than Michigan State, but when you turn the ball over 6 times, I don't give a shit who you're playing against. You're not going to win that game. And all season long, Michigan has turned the ball over in every single game they played, with the exception of maybe last week. They actually played a fairly clean game against Penn State. They just ran into a better football team. I think,
even though there's a lot of Michigan fans that are blaming the refs on that one.
Yeah, and then that has nothing to fucking do with it.
Thank you.
But as far as tonight goes, it's gonna be the rain, the wind. You're not going to be able to throw the ball downfield. It's going to turn into who can run the ball better and who can take care of the football. And Notre Dame has proven that this year they can take care of the football. Michigan has not proved to anybody that they can. And I'm a Michigan fan, and trust me, with my heart, I want Michigan to win more than anything tonight. And if Michigan can win tonight, I can probably not going to say I'm going to forget about the Wisconsin game and I'm going to forget about the Penn State game, but it's a step in the right direction because we haven't been able to win, the big game, the rivalry games. And if Michigan can do that tonight, I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. But my brain's telling me that, I'm a diehard Michigan fan and I want to see them win so bad. But my brain is telling me that the right pick to do is go with Notre Dame. That's the safe bet, is to go Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame at this point is the better football team. I think the only thing that Michigan has going for them is that they're the home team, and they're normally pretty good on the home field. But I just don't see them being able to win it tonight.
I think when we got to hang out with Mr. Tyler Coffey last week, he kind of summed up the whole Harbaugh era in one sentence. They have no offensive identity. Mm-hmm. I was speechless because that's the only way you can describe it. Mm-hmm. All right, you start off as a pro style. Cool. Did that work? Yeah, you got 10-win seasons. You got 10-win seasons. Is it where Michigan fans want them to be? No, but there's only 4 slots. Mm-hmm. So the other 120 fucking teams in the nation aren't, they can say the same thing. Mm-hmm. But with Michigan's expectations and their history, they expect to be there. Yep. Harbaugh and you would think that someone who's been a quote-unquote quarterback whisperer, Stanford, he had probably one of the best college quarterbacks in Andrew Luck. What did he do? He won. Mm-hmm. He beat USC. Mm-hmm. He put his stamp on college football on the back of Andrew Luck, and goes to the pros, and he finds this majestically running quarterback in Kaepernick and gets him to a Super Bowl. And you could argue that they're a power outage away from winning that Super Bowl. But it's which way are you trying to go? Yeah. They're supposed to be running a spread this year. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. So when Tyler said that, I was like, you know what? You're fucking right. That's the easiest way to explain it. Yeah. And a lot of it does fall on Harbaugh because he's the one that hires the coordinators. This offensive coordinator was supposed to come in and revamp everything. It looks the same as last year to me. It really does. It really does. So is there anything that you want to add to the Notre Dame-Michigan discussion, Mr. 2Ks?
No.
Now, let's not keep the listeners and viewers, what's up, YouTube, any more anticipation. My final score, 24-10, Notre Dame.
I'll say Notre Dame 21, Michigan 10. 21-10. Would you say 21-10 or 24? 21-10, yeah.
24.
21-10.
I don't see this being a very high-scoring game at all.
Just because of the weather.
Yes. So there are our picks. But you like that pick? We got a bunch more picks. We've got Paycheck and motherfucking Onions. 2Ks, where are you at as far as points are concerned?
Going into these picks, with everything going, most of our picks for today haven't happened, and going from last week haven't happened yet. But at this point, I'm at 31. 32 was where you were at.
Yep, and but I am including the Ohio State over Wisconsin because it's completed.
Yep. So and I got that one wrong because I picked Wisconsin over Ohio State.
So what you're saying is I have a huge fucking commanding lead right now.
Yes.
And I'm pretty much a badass at this game.
Which I forgot that last week I just told you that today I'm picking Notre Dame to beat Michigan. But on this, I picked Michigan to beat Notre Dame.
I didn't forget. So let's start off with your first pick'em, Mr. 2Ks.
First pick'em, I haven't talked about him all year. Don't really know anything about him. But I just thought, hell with it. I'll go with it. I'm picking. I'm actually doing my paycheck game first.
Okay, we can do that.
So I went with Boise State over San Jose State. The only thing I know about Boise State is Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator for my favorite team, Dallas Cowboys, used to quarterback for him, and they play in a blue field.
Fuck it, why not?
So I'm picking them.
Why not? Why not? And hell, I know just about as much as about San Jose State as I do Boise State.
Yeah, the only thing I knew about San Jose was I think they have a hockey team.
And neither one of them are actually states, Boise nor San Jose. Well, since we're going money, we're going money.
Really shitty games next week.
Just to warn you guys, if you haven't, guys and gals, if you haven't looked at the college docket next week, it's not the greatest. Not the greatest. So it was kind of hard to pick. Now the NFL side,
yeah,
there's lots of intrigue on the NFL side. But my paycheck game, I'm going Big Ten. Northwestern goes into Indiana. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever picked Indiana to win a game. But as much of a Northwestern fan that you and I both are, it's just not their year. It's not their year, and Indiana's looking like a legit fucking team. So I'm taking Indiana over Northwestern. So let's go pick 'em games. And I kind of teased this beginning of the show. I'm taking tonight's baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight being Saturday, so everyone out there knows Saturday. I'm taking the Astros.
Okay.
I'm taking the Astros over the Nats, even though my only rationale is the Bats woke up last night with the Nats, and the bullpen game is actually going to work out in their favor because you're not going to get. There's no way that any of the Nats are going to see the same guy twice.
Yeah.
It's just whether those guys that you're not seeing twice are getting you out the first time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got my faith in the Nats, or in the Astros, excuse me. So what is your first pick'em motherfucking game?
First pick'em game, I went with two of the worst NFL football teams I've seen this year. One being probably, in my opinion, the worst team, the Dolphins.
Yes. And
the other one being the Jets. And the Jets actually did beat my Cowboys, and
they did.
And it's pretty embarrassing to say, but I'm making this pick for my boy Cody Brazeman. I know he's been a lifer Jets fan, and I'm picking your Jets, Cody. Take out the Dolphins.
Now, are there going to be ghosts on the field? Probably not, considering that Dolphins defense. So
yeah,
the defensive intensity is not going to be the same as it was against the Pats.
Well, I read a quote too this past week that coming from Darnold, saying that when he gets his boy Herndon, the tight end, back from injury, that he sees their offense as being unstoppable, which I've never in my life seen a Jets offense that was Cody, have you ever seen a Jets offense that was unstoppable? I want to know. Probably
the last time I would even consider they really weren't unstoppable was it Curtis Martin, and who was the guy that could only throw like 5 yards?
I have no idea.
But yeah, that Curtis Martin was a baller. You have to admit.
He was. I will give you
Chad
that.
Pennington, there we go.
Yes.
Couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards. Like legit. And so you did your first one. What is your second pick'em game? Now that Mr. Brazeman has a hard on.
Second pick'em game, I'm going. Now I'm hoping that in this one that Mahomes comes back for the Chiefs.
You're Mahomie?
But I'm picking the Vikings over the Chiefs. The Vikings have been playing really good football. The Chiefs, I still think I want Mahomes to be there just because I think that has
be a badass.
That could be a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I think Mahomes is still going to be another week out, and he probably won't play in that game.
How the fuck was he even practicing this week? You dislocated your knee, bro.
Yeah.
And it was nasty.
Well, they got Green Bay in town. You can't tell me that he was. If he was any bit, if there was any possibility that he could be on that field, he would be on that field to play Green Bay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so, and then you got the Vikings the following week, and I just don't think he's going to be ready for that game. I think the safer bet is to go with the Vikings, but two really, really good football teams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking at, even though we kind of shit on the college schedule next week, I've got Miami at Florida State. And Miami's kind of taken a big turn down, but so is Florida State. That's not the early 90s Florida State. It's not the Bobby Bowden Florida State. It's not even Jameis Winston Florida State. I couldn't even tell you who the fucking quarterback is. Oh, yeah, I can. It's the dude from the lefty from Wisconsin last year, whatever the fuck his name is. But I'm picking Miami to go into Florida State and come away with a victory. My last pick'em, and I've picked against this team once before, and I was 3 points away from being a sports picking genius. And the game I'm referring to is I picked the Bills over the Pats. 13-10 Pats win. 3 points kind of shut down my hopes and dreams. But this week they're going against the Ravens at Baltimore. So I'm curious to see if this Pats defense is as legit as advertised, because they haven't played anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't played anybody. Especially haven't played against a quarterback like Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
An offensive line like that. Receivers like that. So I'm taking the Ravens at home against the Pats. Pats first loss. Book it. Book it.
I'm going the other way. I'm going Patriots over the Ravens. Patriots, I mean, how long now have they been the best team in the NFL?
Way too fucking long.
I'm not going to be the one that's going to make that. I'm not going to pick against them until I see somebody beat them. So
I love picking against TB12. Not with fucking money. But...
No, absolutely not. And Ravens are a very good football team. Would it shock me if they beat the Patriots? No. But until I see the Patriots lose, I'm not picking against them. I'm taking the safe bet. I'm going Patriots over the Ravens.
All right, you take your safe bet. That's fine. That's fine. I got balls. Speaking of balls, Onions pick. I'm going college. I'm going Pac-12. There's a team out there in the Pac-12 in Oregon that's playing some legit fucking ball. They're climbing up the ranks. There's talks of if they win out and beat Utah and do this, do that they could be considered one of the better one-loss teams. But I think they're going to have more than one loss because I'm taking USC at home over Oregon. The way USC played against Notre Dame, wow. With a second and third string quarterback, mind you.
Mm.
Graham Harrell, you've got them boys on point. They are nasty. Keep it up because I am taking you over Oregon. That one, probably not book it. I'm not super confident in that one. Let's wrap it up. 2Ks, what is your Onions pick?
Yeah, I'm not super confident with this one either. But I'm picking... It'll be Week 9's Thursday night game on this pick, and I'm taking the Cardinals over the Niners.
Ooh,
Cardinals
sneaky.
have just been. They're not that team that I've been so used to seeing. You know, that shitty football team.
Mm-hmm.
That they have a little bit of an identity this year, and they're kind of intriguing to watch, and they're very young, and I think that here they could be a very good football team in another year or two. Niners, they're undefeated.
Yeah.
They haven't lost a game. They
got the Emmanuel Sanders trade?
Yes, that was a big one for them.
It's huge.
My question on the Niners they're gonna get a little bit of a challenge tomorrow, and I'll be curious to see what happens in that Panthers game because, but they really haven't played against anybody at this point. You know,
they're very similar to the Pats.
Yes,
very similar. If you look at the teams, they're strikingly similar.
Mm-hmm.
They both have badass defenses. They both have Patriot quarterbacks. The only thing that kind of separates the Pats from the Niners is that, both of them have a stable of running backs that can do almost anything. They're like Swiss Army knives.
Mm-hmm.
You need one here, fine. You need this, need to do this here, need to do this here. And granted, the Pats went out and traded for Mohamed Sanu. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was a big pickup for them too.
That was a big pickup. Because Josh Gordon is pretty much done for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So they needed to fill a hole. And besides Edelman, I couldn't name you another Pats receiver. Mm. I know that there's a rookie that Brady seems to be throwing to a lot more. Mm-hmm. So bringing in a little bit of extra help is not a big deal. And it's kind of the same way in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. When we did the breakdown for Dustin, I had to look up, besides George Kittle, who they actually throw the ball to. Yeah. So when you get someone like that, especially with Sanders' speed, mm-hmm. I mean, it's a great pickup, and it's going to make him a lot stronger.
Yeah. And I mean, and going back to the Niners, I made the comment that they really haven't played against anybody, and I mean, I look at their schedule and they beat the Rams. That's the one win. But this Rams team is not the same Rams team from last year. Nope. They're just not. There's and they made the trade to bring over Ramsey, and they needed to do that because obviously defensively their secondary was just horrible. Awful. Mm-hmm. And so maybe they're going to start to turn things around. But even on the offensive side of the ball, the Rams don't look anything close to what they looked like last year throughout the season. Maybe a lot of that goes back on, is Gurley healthy? And there's a lot of questions there. Yep. But I'm not saying that I'm not jumping on the Niners bandwagon a little bit, and because I am rooting for them, but I got to see a little bit more. Until I consider them one of the top teams in the NFL.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have pretty much based on their record say they're the best team in the NFC. Mm-hmm. So,
and they might be.
Yeah, just show it to me. Mm-hmm. Show it to me. Where it's nothing negative, just show it to me, and then show it. And once I see it, I'll be the first one on that fucking bandwagon. Well, let's do a little since we're talking football. Let's kind of not switch gears, but switch channels, and let's talk a little fantasy. I think I want to be the first one to give Mr. Christian a big shout out. Congrats on the first win, bro. Woo-hoo. Winners get wings. What? Now you can get wings.
He's no longer in last place either.
No longer in last place. That was a big week for him. Yes. That was a big week. Big week. So he not only gets off the schneid, but also gets out of the cellar.
He not only gets his first dub and gets himself out of that last place barrel, but he also steals Zach Ertz away from Frank.
Shocking.
With probably one of the worst trades I've ever seen in fantasy football history. I get it. Ertz isn't putting up, the fantasy numbers that he was putting up last year at this time, but still, easy a top 5 tight end, in the NFL. Yeah. And you pull him and give up. One of the fucking 8 receivers that the Chiefs throw out there was one that he got, and it wasn't wasn't Watkins and it wasn't Hill. So it was one of the. I think it was Hardman was the name.
It was the dude they pulled out of the stands for Game 5.
And then the other Cook, the tight end for the Saints, who's not even playing right now because he's hurt. Those are the 2 guys that he trades and somehow pulls Zach Ertz.
Okay. You know what? If that's the way he's got to win, then maybe his team sucks. Yeah. But his team doesn't suck though. That's the thing.
I don't think so either.
That's the thing. But yeah, we're just sitting here looking at the standings. Kind of glaze over this. 2Ks is undefeated still. And now we can't even make the joke that Christian's defeated.
Yeah, no.
Him winning takes all the fun out of this. But your boy is at 3-4, sitting 1 game away from a playoff spot. So I'm not too terribly worried. But it's you and Kayla. Then there's a shit ton of teams at 4-3 and 3-4, and then you got Frank and C-Hut. So there's a lot of teams in that middle. So this and hell, even I'd be willing to say that even Christian and Frank aren't totally out of it. Mm-hmm. Still lots of weeks to go. But yeah, we usually try to give you guys and gals an update. So. Who are you playing this week, 2Ks?
I got Mr. Gearhart.
Uh-oh.
Old brother-in-law.
Uh-oh.
Team King Kwan.
I'm playing the Mud Dogs.
Got the Mud Dogs, eh?
Yep. Right now, as it sits, I'm favored 182 to 170.
I'm favored right now 204 to 125, but Carl's got some shit going on with his roster that I would hope that he's going to fix up before tomorrow, because if he's only projected for 125, he's got to have like some shit going on that
8 players on a bye.
Well, yeah, he's got. Well, I did not know this. I did not know this until I just looked here. But he has Matt Ryan as his quarterback, and he is ruled out for tomorrow.
That's always, yeah. He had a sprained ankle or some shit last week. But yeah,
Talk about a fucking
disappointment.
Yes. What is the Falcons? They can't stop anybody. This offense, who you look at these names on paper, and you would think, man, this offense should be able to ball with about anybody in the league.
Yeah,
they can't.
You have one of the top 3, if not the top wide receiver in football.
Mm-hmm.
You get back in Freeman, 1,000-yard rusher, while splitting time with another back.
Mm-hmm.
You ship the other back out in Coleman. You have a badass tight end, and you had Sanu, and you have Calvin Ridley, which I picked up because I think he's going to get a few more targets now that Sanu's gone. And so you're very right. They're an offense that should be hanging 35 a game. And sometimes they do, but when your defense is giving up 45, it's kind of hard to win that way. It's kind of hard to win that way.
Yep.
So yes, you're very right. That is one of the major disappointments of this season. Was there anything you'd like to add, throw in here, and any other 2 cents that we missed?
I don't think so.
I'm fucking stoked to watch this game tonight.
What time is the start? Is the
7:30?
7:30.
Well, it says 7:30 start date or start time, which means it'll probably kick off at like 8.
Closer to 8. Yeah.
Like they always do. So yeah, ladies, gents, 2K crew, we've given you all of our, because I have been hearing some chirps that we hadn't talked a lot about the Notre Dame-Michigan game. And they were kind of giving me shit about it. So I was like, don't worry. Why talk about it when it's 2 and 3 weeks away?
Yeah.
You got to build hype, anticipation, tickle the balls a little bit. That's what we do. We're ball ticklers. Well, 2K crew, we'll get you out on that. Have a great weekend. Hope everyone enjoys watching the game. And remember, Notre Dame's probably going to win.
Yeah, I'm not. Unfortunately, like, as much as I would like to sit here on the other side, across the table from you and argue it, I don't disagree with you.
But to quote the announcer off of the Replacements, anything can happen in a monsoon. So we're not saying there's a monsoon, but you never know. You never know.
Michigan's locker room is probably like that scene from the movie Little Giants. One time.
I love it. Well, 2K crew will get you out on that because I don't think we can end any better than that. So as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.